Hey friends, we're moving right along with our Scout ukulele for Camp Westwind. I did the sanding off camera just because sanding is boring, but basically I just had to sand the binding in the top and back and sides. I think the plain walnut binding was looking good, and then here's the hemlock and walnut neck. So now we got to fit this together. So to begin with, I've got a little dried glue sitting right there, so let's fleck that off. We don't need that, all right? Okay, so the way I do the neck joint for these is it's a butt joint that then has a drywall screw put into it. So the original camp ukuleles by Line and Healy have a dowel in here, and a lot of the inexpensive ones were just a dowel. So a butt joint with a dowel, and that can work pretty good. But I've re-glued enough of the old ones that I don't know. So I just, instead of a dowel, I just do a screw, and it's got to hold better. But also the screw is just basically a good clamping device as well. It really draws the neck and the body together. I only do this on the Scout ukulele. I don't use it on my other ukes. My other ukes I use a dovetail. I feel really good about this joint because I had to take one apart about last month, and it was really hard to get it apart. So I feel like it's good. So anyway, two different parts. We got to fit the neck, and then we got to stick it together. So to begin with, I'm going to clean up this heel. I got some super glue on there from the heel cap. And I also want to re-find my center line on the top. That's going to assist me when I'm trying to line all this up. So I want this neck joint to be really good. And right now it's a little gappy and it rocks a little bit. That's because, there you go, you can see how it rocks a little bit. Every one of these is supposed to be a circle, but it's handmade, so it's got slight imperfections, and this, when I cut this and sand it, it's generally just close, and I just fix it later. So the first thing I'm going to do is an old trick where I'm going to undercut here, because if I just spend the rest of the day trying to sand this away, it's going to take forever. Basically, to get a good joint around the edges, the inside can be carved away, and then you're really just sanding the edges, and that'll give a good strong joint. And so I'm taking this trick because I've seen this on vintage ukuleles and banjos. That almost every time I've worked on one, the heels are undercut. They're relieved, I guess you could call it. So I'm just going to take a chisel, and I'm just going to hog out a couple strokes on the inside. That's going to make this fitting process go way faster. Now I've got some double-sided tape. This is probably 120 grit, maybe. I'm going to put it on the instrument. I'm going to line up where the center line goes, and then I'm going to carefully sand this to try to get my best fit. Now it's really easy to rock this, which is going to end up rounding things over, and it's just going to make it worse. So this is a touch thing where I can feel I've got full contact, and it's remaining full contact as I sand. Sometimes I also go side to side, but that is easier for me to rock, so I don't tend to do that a whole lot. Okay, so you can even see now it's sanding all around in different spots, but see how it's not even having to touch that much in the middle where I've relieved it, and that's going to really speed this process up. You can see it's even sanding more in some spots than others. That's what we want. Okay, I'm gonna take this tape off and check. It's a lot closer, but I still have a bit of a rock and roll here. And actually I can see that it's mainly this edge and this high spot. So I'm gonna get ambitious and try to take a chisel cut in those areas. And also, this is end grain. It's really hard to chisel well on end grain without tearing everything out. You gotta have a really sharp tools and a good touch. Yeah, that's already rocking less. I'm feeling better. But I'm gonna get this sandpaper back on and just do a touch more. Hopefully this double stick sandpaper will stick one more time. We'll just finish this off. Okay, so I'll test again. And it's much better. So I'm going to pause this and we'll come back and we'll screw it together. Okay, we're back at it. The neck joint is tight. We're going to fit it together now. So what I normally do is, sorry, I can move this a little bit, show my work better, sorry. I'm going to mark 1.25 inches down directly on the center line, 1 1/8 inches, excuse me. I'm going to mark it with an awl. And now I'm going to drill a hole through the neck block that is a little bit bigger than the threads on this screw. The idea behind that is we want to be able to tweak the neck back and forth by a 1/64 of an inch or so if we need to. It's a little rough in there from that drill. Let me clean out this hole. There we go. You don't want a little wood chip to hold up the neck joint. So now here's the trick. I'm gonna take the drill bit I used before, put it in here, and I'm going to use it as a marker. Come on. There's some debris in there. It's only hard when you're watching. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. Okay, so now the drill bit's going to stick out just the brad point. This is a brad point drill bit. That means it's got a sharp peak right there. Get it so the brad's sticking out, and now I'm going to line up my neck, and the point on my fretboard here is the center line. So I'm going to line that up with the small mark I made to find the center line on the top. And once it's there, I'm reaching inside and pushing the drill bit through the hole into the neck block. And now that brad hopefully just made a mark. Let's see. I don't think I see it well enough. I'm going to do it again. Just doesn't want to go in today. There. Let's try again. I'll push a little harder this time. Trying to basically mark right where that hole is by using the drill bit that made it. Yeah, and then I can just double check that that's 1 1/8 inch. Yep, that's looking good. So there it is. There's the hole that it made. So I'm going to take now a smaller drill bit. This would be a drill bit that's smaller than the threads of the screw that I'm using. And I'm going to set a short depth, and I'm going to drill into the end of the neck. Then I'll take the actual screw I'm going to use, and I'll kind of start the threads. Oops. Kind of tapping. It's like I'm tapping it, right? Cutting the threads into the neck block. And we want that because we don't want this to just, oh man, I dropped the bit. Whoa, Nelly. I think I'll pause. Could be here a while. Found it, got lucky. Okay. Now we'll back the screw out. The other benefit of the walnut stripe, it's going straight into the walnut stripe, so it's going to be stronger than if it was just in the hemlock. Now, put the screw in here. And see, I wanted this little wiggle room, so if we have to tweak the neck fit later, we can. I'm going to put it on here, take the bit out in my hands, and I'm reaching in tighten. About as far as I can get it. How about I change the angle of the camera now so you can see better? Now I'll take a mini ratchet with a little screwdriver bit there. Try to tighten this in. Oops. Yeah, that's right. Do a little more pressure, so I'm going to flip it over. About as good as I can get it. So now, check it out. Look how well it pulled the joint in. It just looks great. And yeah, the bit's rolling around in there. We'll get it back out. Come on. Without dropping it. Good, got it. So that's very straight, but I'm just going to real quick run a straight edge down my center line. Make sure it lines up well. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. So now I'm just going to take it all apart and do it all over again with glue. So there, it's apart. So give me a second and we'll get it glued on. Okay, it's time to get the neck glued on. I'll also show you another way that I use to check for the right neck angle as we go. I always drop my little screwdriver bit in here. I need to get a magnetic, there we go, bit holder for that. Okay, so even though the screw is really doing the work, we'll get a nice butt joint at the glue joint here. And this is a case where I learned from Gordon from my MOA, when I glue the necks on like this, I don't really want squeeze out of the neck, because then it gets caught in the neck and body area and it's really hard to clean out. So you want to have enough glue, but you don't want to get too much squeeze out. It's just really hard to clean up because we're gluing on a uke that doesn't have finish on it yet, and it can kind of soak in to the bare wood outside of the joint, and it's messy. So we've got our ratchet, our screw, our bit. Gonna line it up again. put our screw in. First I just hold the screwdriver bit, and it's going into the threads we've already cut, so it's pretty easy at first. Oop, I gotta get it lined up. There we go. And then when it gets too hard to turn, I'll use my little ratchet. And like I said, the screw, that rough drywall screw, is really there to pull it all together. There. And then the only thing I think I'll put a little quick clamp right there as well to glue the fretboard down tight. And sometimes I'll put another clamp here, but I don't think I'll need it on this one. Okay, so let me show you another way that I can test to get the alignment going. On a regular ukulele, I usually have a flat spot right here that the neck sits on. So if the neck needs to work on the alignment to get the center line to go right down the center, you can move the neck, maybe shim it left and right in the dovetail to make it to fit. But since this is a circle, it's an arc, moving it left and right actually shifts things the wrong way. So it's a whole different alignment ball game. And actually the neck angle can be off, and then shifting it left or right doesn't really help you that much. So you might need to like sand or chisel more on one side in order to fix the neck angle and then get it in place, and then left and right. But a way you can check that, like here, I'll take this straight edge and I'm going to lay it down the middle of the fretboard, through the fretboard inlays, through the decorative point at the end of the fretboard, clamp it in place like this, and then see where it comes out. So this one is almost, let's see if let's line it up. It's really close to the real center line and right down to the end graft there. That means when I glue the bridge on later, it's going to be right where I need it. It's going to be centered on the top of the instrument. So I feel good about that. So let's, just for some insurance, we will add a clamp right here. Kind of squeezes the fretboard down onto the top. Not that it really needs it. And sometimes I can get another clamp to stick here. My shape I make there means it doesn't always want to go. Yeah, to hold it in place I'm going to need a third clamp. This looks complicated, but it's really not. Might as well get out the call. I think I still have a soprano call here. It's hiding. We'll just do it without. I don't do that many soprano scale instruments, so. Okay. Now, to hold this one in place, get this clamp behind it. There we go. It's a bit of complex geometry, but like I said, the screw's really doing the bulk of the work. I've got this clamp pulling in the heel even though it doesn't really need it. I've got this clamp pushing the top of the fretboard down. This clamp's just to hold this clamp in place. And that's it. We've got a neck on. Next, lots of hand sanding. Before you know it, we'll be into finish. Cheers.